Oh, hey guys, it's the Gundam Boy, and today we're going to be committing arson against the enemies of liberty. This will be a comprehensive guide of all things fire-related, but nothing will burn more than people not realizing this video was a joke. Come on, guys. This is clearly satire. So we'll be looking at weapons, armor, even stratagems for this video, and grenades. Who knows? Ooh, why'd I put this in here? Ooh. And since there's so much stuff in this video, and new players may not know where it came from, I will leave a tidbit about where you can unlock these stratagems, weapons, or whatever. Let's take a look at the weapons we have access to. Starting off with the flamethrower family, we got baby's first arson crime, the crisper, Warhammer reference, the torture, and we got the OG Flame 40. But how do you use them? Well, you point and shoot, you dumbass. I'm sorry. You might even be like a new person to the game. Maybe you don't know how to shoot, and that's okay. That's what Daddy Gundam Boy here's for. Funny thing about these weapons is that they all have very similar ranges and damage to each other. Look at this right here. You can see that both the torture, the crisper, and the flamethrower all have pretty similar ranges. And it's a little deceiving because when you're using the flamethrower weapons, it looks like you have much less range. But let me just say, you have a bit more range for flaming enemies than you think. Shooting the fire towards the ground will also flick the fire upwards so you can still ignite the enemies and the ground in front of you. Some tips for maneuvering with this fire weapon type is that you should aim a little bit higher to avoid the ground so you can advance forward, this letting you not ignite the ground below you and burst in the flames immediately. But if you are hitting enemies in front of you while you're advancing forward, the fire may ricochet downwards off their head and light the ground on fire in front of you, so just keep that in mind. But if you need to be on the defensive, you can either crab walk it left to right or walk backwards, spraying fire to bait the enemies into the flames. Wide sweeps on the ground don't work as well with the new patch. You must sweep the standing enemies to get most out of your fire. That's because it's a little bit harder to light enemies on fire from the ground. You have to spray them directly. And to avoid getting gutted by your own fire, maybe don't step in it, and you could wear armor that provides fire resistance that can spare you from having to hit the stim too many times. When it comes to something like the flamethrower, the good thing to understand here is that direct fire damage doesn't do nearly as much as it did in the past, but with the trade-off of the igniting the enemy and, lighting them on fire, doing way more. But I can't tell the difference when I can't see half the enemies in the smoldering pit of fire. The ignition damage does way more, so what really matters is that you hit the enemy with a little bit of fire, let them burn through whatever damage they receive, and then hit them again if they're still alive. Basically, you don't have to constantly hit them with the flamethrower. Too bad that doesn't stop me from dumping the whole tank on them because fire looks so much cooler on this new PC. Bigger enemies are harder to ignite, but damn, they will light up when they burn. That's because Arrowhead devs decided to scale the damage to the target you're fighting, so Bile Titans will burn way better than before. Which I guess makes sense. I mean, have you ever lit a cow on fire? The small enemies still die pretty fast though, so don't rage bait yourself. That's my job. This gun sucks. And think of how the fire functions, let's move over to the weaponry. Well, let me just say, despite this weapon's lack of range, it's a area denial and crowd controlling monster. You just have to be ready to get into close quarters. Bugs, it's awesome. Squid, it's great. And against the bots, it's doo-doo ass. But it isn't just the flamethrowers that got buffed by this update. It also affected how lasers work, because they can also ignite enemies as well. Having the ability to ignite enemies turns the scythe into a miniature laser cannon, as it can just chop through health now. And the dagger is basically a miniature version of that, just having less time to do its damage, but it's still pretty monstrous. Lesser chaff, you won't even know because they die from a feather hitting them. But against a walking door machine gun man, you can see that the fire damage absolutely murdered this dude. And since this gun doesn't have to be in close range like its flamethrower brothers, it means you can snipe enemies from long range and just let them cook. Wait, there it goes. And the biggest winner of the laser family weapons, the laser cannon, receives a monstrous buff due to the fire change, making this weapon practically a long-range flamethrower. I guess that's what lasers are. And I only say that because it's really noticeable when you use it against something like the Hulk, because I only got this weapon to half its heat gauge before it died. And I wasn't even aiming for the weak point. Funny enough, Guard Dog Rover is also buffed by this, but only if you could aim for anything other than the automaton's dick. For the Incendiary Breaker, this shotgun is great for applying the fire damage with its rapid fire and spread, making you kind of a fire sprinkler on the team. The way you play with this weapon is that you just try to coat as many people as you can with the fire and let them burn out before they get to you, allowing this gun to abuse the fact that the fire damage in this game now shreds. This is a gun you're going to want to shoot and burst if you really want to abuse the fire, because the spread on this gun is quite comical when it looks like there's only 5 pellets flying out of the gun.
Oh, but Gundam Boy, you didn't talk about the custom whip.
Fuck you, if I wanted to do fire damage, I would go use my brother the Cookout. Functions like its breaker counterpart, but with more stopping power for each shot. And the cookout also has way more pellets in its spread to really mark up the enemies with fire. And this gun has a lot of its pellets, and a lot of them are centered in the middle, which means you're definitely igniting whoever's in the center of that fireball mass. But it's not just lighting enemies on fire, it can also push them off of you with its stagger. When it comes to the grenades we have access to, we have the standard grenade, which can be thrown to apply fire, goes off with a timer, and for instant application you can use the impact nade to directly apply it to the forehead, and you get a bit more range with the impact grenade since it only goes off when it hits something. And the firework, which spins, lighting the place on fire before exploding the area with more fire. How many times am I going to say fire in this fire video? And the pyrotech, which is capable of holding area denial, you can see that it will absolutely shred anybody who stands in it. When it comes to the flame sentry, you just drop it on the direction you want guarded, and this thing will roast everything within range. And the sentry is able to lock on and swap between targets pretty quickly, so you should keep an eye out. The damage buff, the flame sentry has no problem defending itself against enemies on the lighter chaff end, but when it comes to things like elite units, chargers, hulks, you can find that this weapon will often explode. But that death is not in vain, as if it explodes, it sets the area on fire. And what the fuck did he... Just make sure if you're fighting alongside your sentry, you wear some fire-resistant armor, because you never know if it might target you. Literally every enemy that's on this little image here would kill the sentry. Just keep an eye out for those. When it comes to the incendiary mines, these are one of the goats for holding defensive points, if your teammates aren't gonna step in them. Being one of the ultimate ways to crowd control enemies from attacking your position, just drop these in front of your base and you'll be holding the line like no other. I mean, the mines do all the work. Look at this dumbass. Hey, you're gonna step on that. Really easy to use, as long as... Taurus, what are you doing over there? Taurus, get out of there.
And them, I appear to have stepped up.
When it comes to the napalm barrage, this is a instant get out of your breach, bot drop, or squid drop free, because this thing will nuke the area. So if you ever see a bug breach and you won't want to deal with it, just drop the napalm barrage on it and forget about it, because everything that's within its range is going to get annihilated. Even heavier units like impalers can't even make their way out of the firestorm. The only things I've ever seen survive this is bile titans and some chargers, but even then they're really low on health. Then we have Napalm Airstrike, which is the quickest and fastest way to apply fire directly to your enemy when you're getting overwhelmed by massive crowds, as Eagle 1 drops down and just bombs the area, with pretty good effect. Then we have Orbital Laser, which lights enemies on fire by directly beaming them with the sun, but I think most of the damage actually comes from the laser, annihilating them. It's just the add-on for the fire effect. But all this laser power comes at a cost because you only get 3 shots for using it. But that is the end of my video. What do you guys think? Which fire weapon benefited from this update? Because honestly, I think a lot of these guys won in the end. But be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be sure to see my videos when they come out, and